I am going to be dimensional favor boxes, or rather how to assemble it today. Each quarter we come out with a whole new set of dies, and a lot of times we have dimensional things, and we know that you have difficulty putting them together sometimes, or you don't know how many pieces to cut. So we are trying to really put forward assembly guides for you so that when you get these really cool interactive cards or dimensional boxes, you'll know exactly how to cut them, you'll know how to assemble them, and you'll be able to make a lot faster, I'm sure. So in each chapter we have a theme. We also look at kind of like the trends that are going on, if there's special kind of times for making, like Father's Day or Mother's Day or the holidays. And what we're noticing kind of over the summer is there's a trend towards all things celestial, astrological, everything and everything to do with the sky. So Lisa Jones, who's one of our designers, she came out with this really beautiful celestial favor box. So I'm going to show you how to put this together today. It's very simple, I will say. It looks a little more intimidating because of all the pieces that come with it, and I'm going to go through all the pieces and what you can do with them. But what I do want to point out about this box is that it is interchangeable dies, in the sense that you can change the design out however you'd like. There's 3 different designs, but also if you don't want it to have these see-through elements, you can just keep the box plain and as is. So there's really a lot of versatility to this box and what you can do with it year-round. And I'm also going to show you how it goes really beautifully with our new luster waxes. So if you aren't familiar with those yet, I'm going to show you what those look like once we start adding them to the paper. I am going to switch to an overhead cam so you can see everything up close. And if you have any questions about any of the products I'm going through, or even if I feel like I've missed a step, just go ahead and pop your question or your comment in our comment section, and we will be happy to answer them for you. So give me just 1 second. I'm going to switch to my overhead camera real quick. Okay, I think we are all set up. I'm just going to make sure everything's in there for you. Okay, so these are the components that come with the Celestial Favor Box die set. You get the base piece to create the actual box. You get these 3 different tag shapes, a triangle, a star, and a crescent moon. And then you also get these 3 decorative panel pieces. So you can see one has moon and stars and kind of these different decorative panel elements to it. Then you have one that just has what looks like stars and the crescent moon. And then you have one that just has stars. So you can change out these dies into this area. So what I am going to show you is how you run these through at the same time. Now, if you want to do the sample box I have right here, I've done it essentially where I only have 2 panels that are decorated. And you can do all 4, you can just do 1, you can do none if you want, but I am going to show you how I basically did this one today and give you a couple of ideas of how you could create additional samples. One thing I want to show you real quick is some tools that you might find handy when you're coming to make this. So because these have these panels that lay into them, like so, when you're running it through the machine, if you don't have a magnetic base platform, you're going to want to secure that in place so that it doesn't move about as you're going through the machines. So I would recommend some of our Maker's tape. These come in a 2-pack, and they're a low tack kind of washi tape, so that you can hold your pieces in place as you're going through the machine. So I definitely recommend those. I am going to be using our express glue because it's quick drying, and when you're putting together boxes, I don't want to sit there and hold the boxes together for forever to wait for them to dry. So I like using quick drying glue. You can also use a double-sided tape. I find that tape tends to, at least the tapes I've used, tend to come apart when you're doing dimensional boxes. There is red tape, and red tape is pretty strong and tacky, so that one's a good one if you don't have it. But I would recommend a liquid adhesive when putting these boxes together. I just find liquid adhesive holds paper together for much longer and it's more durable. And just my own personal, what I'm going to be using, I've got some baker's twine off to the side that I'm going to use to tie my tags on. And then I also have some of our luster waxes over here. And I'm going to show you how I use these to create kind of an antique effect on the tag and the box itself. So those are what I'm working with. I also have off to the side some of our assorted and neutral cardstock. So I'm going to use our Bluebell cardstock today and our black from our neutral set. The Bluebell is part of our assorted cardstock set. Our luster waxes go really well with a lot of different colors, especially in our neutrals. I think these celestial favors could be great for Halloween actually, or bridal showers. I've even seen baby showers that kind of have more of like a celestial theme lately, so you could do them in pale pastels and things like that, and then just add a little bit of gold tint or a rose gold tint to really warm it up, but also give it that antique effect. Because we're working with small pieces, I'm also going to be using my die pick. If you find, because this piece doesn't sit inside this piece, you're not going to need a die brush, because a die brush is great when you're trying to get all the small details out of like a big panel. But when you're trying to do something small like this panel is going to pop out fairly quickly. So you're just going to want to have a die pick handy to pop out the little extra pieces that sit within. So with all of that, I'm now going to start demoing how you actually cut this. So I'm going to bring in my Big Shot machine. Try to center that as best I can. I'm going to center it this way because I want you to see how I'm building out my sandwich. Okay, so you're going to go to your platform and you want to be on the Thinlits adapter, and then you're going to put down one cutting pad. And I've got my paper now. I've cut my paper. I've taken essentially like an 8.5 by 11 size paper, and I've cut it in half, because if you cut it in half, you can actually get 2 boxes out of each half of, or 1 box out of each half of your cardstock, because I can actually cut both box bases out of this. So I'm gonna lay down my die this direction, and then I'm going to lay in my panel. So I'm going to use this one right here so you can see that. And I'm just going to lay it in. It does not matter which one you lay it into. If you're just doing 2 sides, you're going to lay it into one, and you're going to keep it that same way when you cut it the other direction. That way, each pattern, it goes plain, decorative, plain, decorative. Now, if you want all 4 sides to be decorative with the same design, you're going to cut this first, and then you will just take out the die cut, add this back onto that center panel, and run it through again. I think that might make the box a little more flimsy. You still can do it, but I personally like having a little mystery for my gift boxes. So at most, I think I would only do 2 decorative panels. That way, when you're going to lay it in, you don't have to worry about moving everything around and running it through the machine again, and then worrying about it getting messed up. So I'm kind of figured out where I want it to lay in, and then to secure all of those elements in place, I'm going to use some of my maker's tape and lay that in real quick. Okay. And then I can see that it cut it easily. So there's your piece. And you can see you've got these beautiful score lines that are going to help you to create the folds on the box. So I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to cut my other piece real quick. You only need to cut this panel twice to get the box. So I'm going to remove this and lay it down this way. So now you can see how you get 2 out of the same panel of paper. I always like when I can save my paper wherever possible. And then if you wanted to, you could cut your tags out of the same color, or and really get good use out of your paper. I actually wanted to use black, so I'm going to cut a couple of my tags. I'm going to cut 2 tags out of black because I've got them off to the side. So I'm going to set those panels aside. I'm going to set the die aside real quick, and I'm going to cut my tags real quick. So I've got some black cardstock, And I think I'm gonna cut the moon. So I'm gonna cut this twice so that I can essentially squish the baker's twine in between these two pieces. Or you can tie it in a knot, which actually I might do that instead. I think I'm gonna tie it in a knot, so I'm not gonna worry about cutting two pieces. But you could also sandwich it in at the top and hot glue it together and work that way as well. So I've got all my pieces that I'm going to work with, and now we're gonna get to assembling. So I'm gonna get my machine out of the way real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna first start off by cleaning out my die, or my die cuts, I should say. And you can see I'm just going through with my die pick and punching out all those small little pieces. I know some people like me love detail work. I find this extremely therapeutic just to sit and clean out a die. If you're in a rush, it's not so therapeutic, but if you're like me, crafting is your zen time. So doing something like this is actually really fun. And let me just grab my other panel. This is also another reason where I don't like to do more than 2 panels, and it requires you to clean out more pieces. And I'd rather be making more boxes than cleaning more pieces out. So that's why I would suggest sticking, especially if you're making these in bulk for party favors or gifts for around the holidays or for birthday parties. I wouldn't do more than 1 or 2 panels because otherwise you will be sitting there for quite some time. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you what I recommend, which is folding on all the score lines first. So I'm just going to gently fold in, as you can see. Now, one thing I do recommend when you're going to do these side panels, because they're kind of at a curve, it can be a little difficult to get going. So I recommend laying them down and moving that panel up, because that will automatically start that score line for you instead of you trying to start the score line, which can be a little frustrating because it won't bend the direction you want it to. So that's my recommendation, because when you go to do it this way, it ends up like bending the paper down here. But if you lay it on a flat surface and do the bend, then it automatically leans into that score line a lot easier. And then when you get to the top, you really just want to pinch the nose up here so you get that perfect triangle at the top. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you want to fold that element so that it'll start to sit up. And then you're going to fold the flaps in on this again. Just really get those score lines activated. And you can see I'm just using my thumb and pointer finger to really get that top element nice and firm and as a triangular as I can, because I don't want that to be square. So I'm just pinching it to really get that score held in place. Okay, so there's one panel. I'm gonna do the other real quick because I want to show you how I'm gonna assemble. And I need to do all these panels in order to do that. I kind of have my other box halfway done so that once I show you how it's assembled, then I can show you how I decorate it before I close it up. Now, I will say this, you do not want to glue all 4 sides together before you add your tag. You're going to want to only glue 3 sides together, add your tag in, and then glue that final panel in. Otherwise, you will not be able to get your tag in at the very top. So, got all my score lines. I really like these to be very pointy at the top, so I take my time with them. If you're not fussy like that, I'm very fussy about those kinds of things. If I'm gonna give it as a gift, I want it to look nice. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna recommend is just working on one. You're gonna take some glue right here and attach these 2 tabs together. If you don't want to use glue, this is where you can use tape, although I will say because it goes to a really fine point up here, the tape could leave you with bulges that the the adhesive will not, the liquid adhesive will not. I should make sure that this is open real quick. There we go. So you don't need a lot. That came out a little bit faster than I wanted it to, so I'm actually gonna take some of this excess off because I don't want it seeping out the side. So I'm just gonna kind of lightly move that around so that it lays on there a little bit easier. So then you're gonna align those two tabs, get the top, the little point together, and then what I like to do is hold them together pretty firmly in my hands, in between my two fingers, and then just kind of move around. I'm also got fingers inside, kind of pushing from the back, and I'm just gradually holding everything until it connects. And then I'm gonna move to my other panel while I set that aside to really adhere together. Otherwise it might be too soon and the liquid will pull apart. So I'm gonna just adhere these two panels together on the other side. If you wanted, you could cut panels, triangular panels right here to put behind, and so you could have a different color, like a tone on tone, or some really cute colorways I've seen are our lavender dust and mint julep. This this color bluebell and limoncello look good together. I'm doing limoncello, not limoncello, I'm doing bluebell and black today. You can do really bold colors, which is kind of fun that you could get so many different looks with this same dye, but changing out your color palette will make it look completely different. You could do really bold colors together for a birthday party, or you could do pastels for a baby shower or a bridal shower. And you could, I'm curious to see how these would look with the opulent cardstocks, because I think that could be really pretty too. So now I've got my two panels basically in these half dome shapes, as you can see. And what I'm gonna do is put them together like this. Now, before I do that, I want to get my, my tag ready, because once I glue this to this, then I'm gonna glue the bottom panel to the bottom over here, and then I'm gonna go in and add more glue right to both of these and hold them together. There is other ways you can do this. I could have not glued these together at all, which is what I did right here. I glued, I didn't glue these together before I put them side by side. I glued this panel to this one so that I had two open sides like this. So it's up to you, preference. I think this is good if you're going to be adding little treats inside, but if this is like you're just doing like a little gift, you would just put the gift in right here and then you can just adhere it together. So while I am doing this, I'm gonna take my Sizzix scissors, these are our new scissors. They are titanium coated steel, steel blades, and we have these nice soft hand grips that are so ergonomic. They fit in your hand beautifully, and we actually have them in 6 and we have them in 8 inches. They cut like butter through so many different surfaces. And if you're like me and you have a million pairs of scissors on your desk at all times, they are wonderful. So I'm just gonna double knot this at one end so that this side that goes in will have the knot. And I want it to be kind of big because I don't want it to pull out easily. So I'm gonna triple knot it. Okay, so this will be the end that goes in, so that once it's glued inside, that knot will stay in, and then my, though I realize I made it a little long, so I'm actually gonna trim this off and go a little bit smaller, because I don't want my tag hanging off the edge. So I'm gonna make it just, as my grandmother would say, a wee bit smaller. think that's tight enough. Let me test it. Yeah. And then I'm going to take this end and knot it in, go through the loop like that. Put a nice little firm tag in there. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the knot inside my 2 panels right there, and I really want that to stay in, so I'm going to just push that underneath and let it hang over the side. Now I'm going to add my adhesive to the bottom because I want that to go in nice and firm. So I'm just going to, and I'm going to slide that in and let that just kind of grab hold. Now if you want, you can take your die pick and push it in and really kind of push down. But I can tell it's going in there pretty nicely. And then I'm just going to go back in my panels right here and add some adhesive and glue these other side tabs together. Okay, and then I'm just going to hold it from either side. I hope this is at a decent angle. I'm kind of trying to look as I go. Okay, so then you have your little tag with your box. And it's really quick and easy to put together. Now let's say I did the same thing, but once I'm done, this is another way where I would put the tag in right here and then bring up this last panel and glue those 2 sides in. So there really is a couple different ways to close these. There's not one singular way. I think this way is probably a little bit easier if you're stuffing treats in, whereas this one's perfect for if you've got a gift. One way to decorate these and make them a little bit more fun is to take some luster waxes. So I'm going to bring in my gold luster wax because I think gold will look nice with the blue. And I have a little paper towel off to the side. So what I usually do when I'm doing luster wax is you put a little on your finger. If you're not familiar with our luster wax, it's extremely creamy. It's a beeswax based luster wax, so it goes on really smooth. It's a nice buildable kind of effect. This is part of our new effects range. It fits into our color story, our metallic color story. So we have also decorative metallic flakes and decorative foil sheets, and our opulent cardstock and sequins and beads. Like it's like beautifully coordinating, which I love, because if I'm looking for sequins to match my luster wax, they exist. So you can see I'm just going in on the edges of the panel and I'm rubbing my luster wax in, and it smells divine because it's actually got this really nice citrus smell to it instead of a chemical smell like a lot of other waxes do sometimes. And like I was saying, it's buildable, so I can go back in, and if I want more gold, I'm just going to keep rubbing it and it'll buff it out a little bit more. If you are using your finger, you'll notice luster wax is a little bit difficult to get off. And one thing I would recommend to get it off quickly, if you don't want it to sit on your fingers for too long, which I don't think anyone would want because it can get messy, antibacterial, I'm trying to think of the word, antibacterial soap, also any kind of alcohol-based hand sanitizer will take it right off. So I will go to the kitchen after this and use some of my hand sanitizer to get it removed, and then I'll take some soap and water and it'll come right off. You can also wear gloves. So there's lots of different things. I also kind of think it would be kind of fun to do the tag. So I'm going to add a little bit of this to the tag, and you can see how nicely that luster wax pops off of black and neutral colors. So grays and browns and creams and whites. The luster waxes look stunning on those, especially on top of 3D embossing. So you can go all the way around the box like I did on this one and keep adding on those elements, and it just takes that box to a whole new level of kind of antique effect. Also makes it look almost like it's got, what is it, not sun-kissed, but there's like glitter on it from the stars, or stardust, we'll say. But that's how you put together our new Celestial Favor Box from Lisa Jones. Like I said, there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. You can do one panel, no panels, all four decorated. You can do them in any color, so they're extremely customizable. You can put in little gifts, little treats. I think a gift card might fit in there too. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, because it might not, but maybe you could do one that you print off and roll up. But yeah, I love these. I think I will definitely be using them to put like little earrings or rings in them for gifting jewelry. And definitely, I really think these would be great for Halloween. I'm like thinking of all the different ideas that you could do with these. You could hang them and put little tea lights in them. I was just thinking about this. You could actually put tea lights in these and hang these as a garland on a string and have the little faux tea lights inside to light them up like little lanterns. That would be fun too. Okay, I'm going to switch my camera up to my overhead again real quick. Okay, that's it. That's how you make the box. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, please again put them in the comment section, and I will be happy, or myself or someone else on our team will be happy to answer them. If you do end up making something with these boxes, be sure to tag us, because we'd love to see what you do with them. And if you use the hashtag #MyMakingStory, we will be able to see that, and we will potentially share it with others so they can be inspired. I hope you had fun. I know I did. I've got actually a bunch of ideas now, even as I was making, of what I can do with this going forward over the summer months. I hope you are all doing well, and we will see